is finally over, and we're recording together for the first time in 2021. Who are we? Well, you're listening to Occupy Politics, a Harry Potter reread politics podcast because we have zero chill. I'm Adri, one of your hosts and a recovering English major that was looking forward to COVID vaccine distribution and is now just horrified at the recent acts of domestic terrorism.
Yep. I'm Helene, your producer, co-host, and slowly suffering through my first full week back at work and the sleep deprivation that I have been, what is the word? I can't even think of words that I have been experiencing. Wow, that's a word that I couldn't think of. Has not been helping at all. So, and obviously I am at the top of my mental game tonight, if you cannot tell.
Oh, I think we are all on the tip top of our mental game.
Yeah. Hey y'all, I'm Kay Alex, your resident, unsurprised ABW, recent therapy drag victim. Shout out to those of us that get dragged by a therapist on a daily basis, or at least a weekly basis for me. And your poor, unfortunate English teacher.
I don't think you should be getting dragged by your therapist. Maybe you need to find a therapist that won't drag you.
She's amazing. She looks like Felicia Rashad.
Is it a loving drag? Is it done with love?
Okay, before Bill Cosby got canceled, appropriately for doing heinous things, I love the Cosby Show and I love Felicia Rashad. And Felicia Rashad has an episode as Mama Claire Huxtable where she is dragging Vanessa for being out to go see the Big Wretched. That's how my therapist treats me. It's a very Claire Huxtable Vanessa relationship. I need it. It made for a very long Thursday on top of what was already a very long Thursday, on top of what could be appropriately described as December 38th, 2021.
Yeah. Yep.
But on a lighter note, we'll be covering chapter 18 of Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, Dumbledore's Army, because we need some resistance somewhere.
Yeah, well, this is the one where Dobby tells Harry about the existence of the Room of Requirement, and the DA hold their very first ever session. Exciting.
It's exciting.
And this is the time where we thank our lovely patrons. I know Kay Alex is looking forward to that.
Absolutely. Made my day.
Big ups and a warm welcome to our newest patrons, Bookworm Mama, aka Rachel Sneed, Aurelia Lieb, and Christina Knudsen. If you, like these wonderful listeners, would like to keep the show alive and also get exclusive content while you keep us alive, hop on over to patreon.com/OccioPolitics. $2 a month will get you access to bonus content for every episode, and $5 a month and $10 a month tiers will get you physical rewards mailed to you every 3 months for the months that you have pledged at those levels. And again,
if you're at all curious what the physical goodies look like for the upcoming months, we have in January, we have a sticker that is Umbridge as Mitch McConnell of the Wizarding World or Ministry of Magic, and a recipe for pumpkin bread with maple glaze. And then in February 2021, we have a sticker that says "Have a Biscuit, Potter," the famous McGonagall line. And the recipe is the Goblet of Fire cocktail. And in March 2021, we have a sticker of Dementors and chocolate. So our segment that we love so much, and it's going to be a Dementor eating a chocolate bar. And the recipe is going to be Fleur's bouillabaisse. And I now realize why you gave me this section, because I am the only one who knows how to pronounce bouillabaisse, aren't I?
You're very welcome, Helene.
She had no faith in me whatsoever.
I only just did not have faith in myself, Kay Alex. It was not a faithlessness about you. It was about myself.
It's okay. I feel very encouraged about the fact that if you say a word and you don't know how to pronounce it, it is because you read it in a book. So I'm well read.
Yeah, I mean, that's correct. Anyhow, Kay Alex, love you. It's not that I don't have faith in you, but tell us, what is our Patreon exclusive content for today's episode?
We are continuing our gender bending series that wonders how switching genders would affect the story and our perspective on characters on The Girl Who Lived, Luna Lovegood.
Ooh, we're discussing Luna. So excited. I'm so excited.
We had a good discussion about her in the chat today. I'm looking forward to it. What?
That was just for Luna. Anyhow, what a week it's been. 2021 is a show that has, like us, no chill for its season premiere.
Now it's time for our Potter Watch segment, where we discuss some of the latest news in the United States.
Potter Watch, what the ministry doesn't want you to know. What are we talking about today, Helene?
Oh my gosh. I mean, so I wrote the first thing in here, on, I don't even know, Monday or Sunday when I worked on my script. I think it was Monday.
Monday night, yeah.
And yeah, and it was the shady phone call that Trump had with Georgia's Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger about just wanting to find 11,780 votes.
And by find, we mean basically steal the election, right?
Yeah, no, I mean he was definitely trying to convince him to collude and help him win illegally. But I mean, I wrote that down before all the shit that went down this week, and so now I just I just looked at the script and I'm like, oh yeah, that happened. Forgot about that.
I mean, it's a really nice build up though. I mean, one white crime colluded to another white crime, which then colluded to several thousand white crimes.
Oh my gosh. I can't with this week. I have literally just been watching the news all week.
Every day. And man.
Well, I mean, speaking of white crimes, yesterday, Wednesday, January 6th, where my people celebrate the Three Wise Men's Day, which is like Santa Claus, but guys and camels, bringing joy and gifts to children in Latin America and in the Caribbean. That did not happen for me because I am not a child, but also because fucking domestic terrorists, also known as Proud Boys, rioted at the Capitol.
Yes, insurrection is what all the big guns are calling it.
Oh, Adri, you should have told me. I would have sent you a present.
Nah,
I like sending.
it's fine. I buy myself presents all the time, you guys. It's not even funny.
If I were still living in New Orleans, I would be eating a king cake.
Oh yeah.
Though not from Rouse, apparently, because the CEO of Rouse's is apparently a seditious bigot. To show his face with no mask on at the Capitol.
Okay, so first off, how dumb can you be that you're like, I am going to commit to this no mask way of life, that I am going to literally not wear a mask while I commit crimes?
That is arguably the one time you should wear a mask when you are not in the middle of coronavirus.
I know.
I really hate to put my people on the spot, but when coronavirus first hit and the mask mandate first went out, people were either half comically joking that this is the perfect time to rob a bank.
Right.
I mean, yeah.
Or for Black people, this is the worst time to go to the bank.
Oh man.
I can see that.
And I literally think, now that I think about it, I think I've only been inside of a bank literally once this entire year.
You should probably people aren't going to the banks during coronavirus anyway, right? I mean, that's what mobile and online banking's for.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, yeah, but I mean, like on those days where you actually have to like speak to a person, like
now they're doing appointments, and it's very socially distant. Like I had to go to the bank a few months ago.
but the circling back to the wagon, if I'm gonna commit a crime, especially a crime like, I don't know, putting my feet on the Speaker of the House's desk
And like post for a ton of photos and interviews. It's great.
and stealing her mail.
And like, didn't one guy walk out with the podium?
Oh,
like,
Yes.
one of the podiums is already on eBay, I heard. So fun time.
that's one way to identify the thief. Just track down their eBay account.
Where in your trailer park were you gonna put it?
Let's rewind real quick for our listeners who maybe were living under a rock, right?
Oh yeah, we can totally summarize this for them.
Helene, can you tell us why people were there?
Yeah, so these pro-Trump rioters were in DC for a Stop the Steal rally. Trump and his surrogates used inflammatory language that incited the riots. Trump said things like, "You'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength, and you have to be strong."
God,
I don't even want to read the thing that the thing that Rudy said doesn't even make sense. So I don't even want to read it.
I mean, he said we would have a trial by combat, which whatever. It's
stupid.
dumb. It's dumb, but also apparently it did the trick. And they weren't the only ones, inciting the crowds.
No, and the thing about it is, and I'm staring at you, Jack, Donald Trump literally tweeted, "See you in DC on January 6th." It was an open invitation. It was let's have a party. It was
Yeah, and then while he was telling them, in quotation marks, telling them to step down and, be peaceful and go home, he also said, like, the election was stolen. This is a fraudulent election. I love you guys. You're very special, but also go home.
Well, I mean, the delays in making any kind of statement, and
Well, yeah.
then to follow it up with "We love you. You're very special." Words that I'm sure none of his children have ever heard, first of all. Like, I'm sure they're going to clip it and they're going to like play it for themselves and self-soothe later on, his children, especially Don Jr., maybe Tiffany, But
Honestly, I don't think Ivanka ever has to worry
yeah,
about
no,
that. So.
she's on a different plane. But it's like the biggest participation trophy to like these terrorists of like a wink and a nod of like, but you know what? I agree with you.
Well, speaking of other people that got in on the participation, Capitol Police are seen on videos letting them stroll on in, VIP red carpet, highlighting how white supremacy indeed creates two Americas, taking selfies, going live. At least 14 DC Metro police officers were injured, including one who was hospitalized after suffering serious injuries when he was pulled into a crowd and assaulted.
And those were the Metro DC police, not the Capitol Police. The Capitol Police were the ones letting them in and taking selfies and all that. The Capitol Police were the ones who were supposed to be, I don't know, protecting the Capitol building.
Yeah, but okay. I guess I'm.
Well, the thing, so there's like the difference here is and I think I'm sorry about my notes, but like the difference here is that the mayor of DC had been like asking for the National Guard and reinforcements, and for for the resources that they deploy for any other protest, especially like BLM protests.
For the people that we pay $7.5 billion to do their fucking job. You mean them people?
Yeah, those people. And Capitol Police had the resources and the staff to guard the Capitol. What happened? they were like, like you said, they were seen on camera just letting the rioters in. They didn't even try to control the rioters. They were just like chilling with the homies. Like it was like that Spider-Man and Spider-Man meme, like, oh, we're the same people.
If anybody listening would like to engage in a quick bout of trivia, I just would like for you to imagine 5 jobs in your head who have a budget of $7.5 billion.
I can't even think of one.
I can tell you which one doesn't.
Yep.
Not the United States Department of Education. That's for sure.
That is for sure.
I mean, which, by the way, I love. It's not a 2 weeks notice, people, if you only have 2 weeks left. That's you fulfilling out your contract. That's not quitting. That's you being let go.
just just breathe in
I
and
mean,
breathe
people
out.
are just quitting what? Quitting upholding white supremacy in real time?
Yeah, like you're quitting at the very last possible second and then wondering, do you think I'm employable?
Yeah. It's literally taking a knee a second before the horn goes off. All jokes aside, when you look at the acts of domestic terrorism that happened yesterday versus the 14,000 and counting protesters that were tear gassed, beaten, doxxed, and arrested this summer in Philly, in Portland, in Detroit, in Charlottesville,
Minneapolis.
Minneapolis, you can't, anybody who literally does not believe that white privilege exists in America, God help you, because I can't. And if you don't believe in God, you might just, I don't know, sit and think about it for a minute.
Don't even need a minute. Shouldn't need a minute. So obvious. It's become so much more obvious in the last 24 hours. If it wasn't obvious before, which it was.
And in a slightly lighter note, one of the terrorists attempting this coup wore his work badge to the coup.
Oh, yeah, like folks have really been hitting the you about to lose your job,
Oh yeah,
but it really should be you're about to go to jail.
It really should be,
yeah,
yeah.
no, it completely should be. Speaking about why they should go to jail, Helene, why else should they go to jail? Not that they didn't do enough, but there's more.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, two pipe bombs were found and detonated safely, one in the RNC and one in the Capitol. There was a suspicious package near the DNC, too. Unclear if this was also a pipe bomb. We don't know, but nearby police detained a suspect, and his vehicle contained at least 10 Molotov cocktails and a rifle, according to reports. So, scary stuff.
Just
So,
normal. Like that's kind of like my de facto when I go out on the town. I'm just like, here's my box of Molotov cocktails and my rifle. Like that's just essentials. Am I right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've kind of thought that so apparently there's been four confirmed deaths from the proceedings that happened yesterday. One we know for sure was a woman was shot or she died from complications of a gun being fired and a bullet. I don't know if someone straight up shot her. But the other three, I was watching the press conference with the mayor of DC and the police chief and today, and it was like they could not confirm how they died. They just said that they died at the Capitol on the scene, and they can't confirm their causes of death. And I'm just don't. It's kind of just shady to me. I don't really know what that means. It was just injuries, injuries that they got. They died from injuries that they got at the scene. So
thoughts and prayers.
It just says. I mean, I'm reading CNN right now. It says from an hour ago. It says that they, after separate from the woman who got shot, they one adult female and 2 adult males appear to have suffered from separate medical emergencies.
Yeah, medical emergencies, injuries, whatever
Yeah,
term they're
so
using
it
right
looks
now.
like, I mean, it might have been, I don't know.
Like heart
Yeah,
attack or something, like
heat. Yep.
stress-induced stroke or something.
Dehydration and complications. We don't know.
Should have just stayed home.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of staying home, a ton of Generation Z white kids are doxing their parents online. So that's
Period.
And see, what I wanted to focus on yesterday was the fact that, the Democrats have control of the Senate now
ooh,
because
yeah.
both Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff won their Senate seats in Georgia, and it was amazing. And I wanted to celebrate for 3 seconds, but no, I didn't even get that.
Man, we literally cannot have nice things. I mean,
Yep.
honestly, like even from a moving more and more left point of view, a Democratic majority Senate is a nice thing. Not
Hmm.
let other people tell you otherwise. I know the woke folks in the back will tell you, like, we still got a long way to go, obviously. But second black man in the South since Reconstruction, and the first Jewish man. Am I?
I don't remember if it was the first or not. People just keep on saying he's a Jewish man whose family was immigrants. I don't know if he was an immigrant, but his family were immigrants.
He
Not
might
sure.
be the first Jewish man from the South.
From Georgia, yeah, because I mean Bernie Sanders is Jewish and he's in the
That's
Senate.
where I was coming from. I just want to share with listeners this beautiful text thread between all three of us. K. Alex said, "The second black man and the first Jew, it's time to get Adri some representation." And I said, "Oh, where are my peeps at?" And Helene said she's very attracted to Wassoff, so at least you can be happy about that. So this is the level of razzing that I have to endure. I just want to share that with.
Don't express your undying lust for John
Right.
Ossoff if you don't want it thrown back in your face.
I am not going to be shamed for being a woman in touch with my desires, Helene. That is shaming.
I saw no shaming going down
Right.
whatsoever, just truth.
And don't be on this podcast spreading misinformation. Like you don't have AOC on your side.
Well, I did say on the text thread later on that I do have AOC, but she's a congresswoman, not a senator.
Is she Puerto Rican?
She is.
Yeah.
Well, of Puerto Rican descent. She was not born and raised on the island, but yes.
Oh, okay.
It's why she like carries off red lipstick so well.
So do I, but I'm not Puerto Rican.
Honorary. We've talked about this. Just wait till we all go to the island.
Yeah.
Man, can't wait.
Have we
yeah. Let's run up on the news, but I want to just cover like the silliest thing that happened yesterday that should have been a thing that we focused on instead of the thing that we had to focus on out of necessity. Apparently, Kanye West was having an affair with Jeffree Star, and like that wasn't even the wildest news of the day.
wait?
So
I am really waiting for somebody to confirm that.
That's true. Is that true? I thought that was a joke.
It's looking more and more like truth the more we hold it up to the light.
yeah, correct. And I believe the multiple sources confirming this is one, Kris Jenner, because the devil works hard, but Kris Jenner works harder.
Baby, Chris been outworking the devil for a long time.
Wow. Okay. I hadn't even seen that on any like new. I'd literally just seen people tweeting and like talking about it secondhand. I didn't even see the story itself. I thought people made that up because it was something light and weird, dark, sad time.
No.
Wow.
No.
Okay. I mean, wow.
We've made Helene speechless.
I literally I like don't know what to think about it. Should we debate our club, our Hogwarts debate club?
The call is coming from inside the house, y'all. Yes.
Sorry, Helene. I think I did I break your brain a little bit more
We
today?
broke
I'm
her.
I'm just I'm it's not even just that one piece of news. I am just my brain is already broken from I have not slept in like 3 days. I stayed up on Tuesday night until God knows how long to for the Georgia election. And then last night I was just, I just have I'm running on lots of caffeine and zero sleep.
Let's help our friend. Let's
My brain is already at low functioning.
on with the show.
So we're gonna do things a little bit differently from now on because we've gotten some feedback that us trying to cram our lovely voices into the 30-second minimum might be a little too hard to follow. So, okay, Alex, tell us all about your politic today.
What? I'm so excited. I get to speak at a generally slow pace. But my politic is teach-ins, and quite appropriate because I'm a teacher. But a teach-in is a general educational forum on a complicated issue usually involving current political affairs. While I originally had it in my mind that the DA was an activist group, friends have helped me see that the majority of its members were looking to be educated, not looking to actively take part in the order or the resistance. Though we see the DA evolve down the line, it's more befitting that it's a teach in at this point.
I like that.
Ooh, I like it. Well, my politic is silence as oppression and knowledge as resistance. When people in power attempt to silence people so that they cannot threaten their hold on said power, it is a form of oppression, aka a la umbrage. Almost diametrically opposed to silence is knowledge. The right kind of knowledge can give the population the tools for dismantling systemic power and means to resist it in an effective manner.
Hmm. I can dig it.
As my co-hosts know from our text chain, I had a little bit of a hard time thinking of a politic this week. But I'm basically going in a kind of a different direction with I while I believe Dumbledore's army is a grassroots movement, I think that it also could be considered a coalition. In civil society, coalition connotes a group effort or a population of people coming together who strongly believe in their cause. An internal coalition consists of people who are already inside of an organization, such as a workplace, or in this instance, school, Hogwarts, who collaborate their efforts to achieve an overall objective. The objective in this case is learning defense against the dark arts to eventually be able to defeat Voldemort in the coming war. The DA also could be considered an external coalition if we view the houses as different organizations coming together. Although houses fall under the same larger organization, Hogwarts, so I still think it probably fits better as an internal coalition.
That's a
All right.
dope policy.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to the in depth discussion. Okay, Alex, what is your quote that kind of ties this politic for you?
I need a place where 28 people can practice magic without being discovered. The fact that Harry throughout the chapter is so concerned about finding the perfect conditions to teach the group, finding what making sure that they can go undetected, that they can practice, that they can pretty much come together as a healthy community again are all really great signs that Harry cares about, like, not just the assembling of the what comes to be known as the DA, but he also cares about the conditions in which he's about to teach them, which I mean is a sign, as a lot of people say in their fanfics, that Harry would be a great teacher.
Yep.
Throughout the chapter, we see pretty much a teach-in begin to form. Teach-ins usually happen with an organizer starting, which is to me Hermione, kind of the brains behind it all, gathering an expert Harry to teach the community, which would be the rest of the students who sign up for the DA. And then, of course, as we see throughout the book, the students grow in their magical abilities as well as their abilities to be able to come together, organize, defend, and protect each other. And they start to grow as a group too, which is usually what happens when you're in a great classroom with a great teacher. Like you start off with the purpose of learning something and then you end up learning about each other.
I like that.
Great. Helene, do you have a quote for your politic?
Yeah, so my quote is, well, it's more of a moment. So it's when Cho explains that her and Marietta's parents didn't want them to do anything that would get on the wrong side of Umbridge and the Ministry. And then Luna chimes in that her father is very supportive of any anti-Ministry action. So I think it really illustrates the variety of different backgrounds and beliefs that these members have, and then they're all coming together to work towards a common goal. Just like in a coalition normally. Yes, these people, Cho and Luna, are technically even from the same house. They're both Ravenclaws, but they are a very different backgrounds and beliefs coming together. And then obviously we have people of different houses with even more drastic like beliefs and morals coming together in the same way. So I think that
Towards the same goal, yeah.
yeah, and then I think Hermione really is like the standout character in this chapter, especially with my politic, because she is taking charge and organizing everything, treating the group like an official organization to make them feel more like a group of comrades, I guess, taking steps to make everybody have a baseline feeling of unity and proposing the idea for of a name for their group, which I think really does help them feel like a coalition.
Names mean things. It gives people power.
Exactly. And there isn't like a great example of my politic of coalitions throughout the book because, well, they're very similar to grassroots movements. So like the DA and the Order could both be considered coalitions. And we don't see this storyline develop in this book, but Snape essentially forms an external coalition with Dumbledore and the Order to defeat Voldemort after Lily's death. It's like two very different belief systems and different organizations coming together towards one common goal.
I would also say maybe even Ron, even though it's very brief, Ron considering the house elves in Deathly Hallows might also be an external coalition because it's a different type of magic, it's a different type of people. You also kind of see that with the Death Eaters as well, like the race to round up all these different people or groups to be on your side. The werewolves, the vampires, the giants, the Actula, the trolls, the goblins. I don't think coalitions have to, well, they should, but they often in this book don't see every group as of equal value, but they do see those groups as having some sort of purpose. Does that make sense?
Yeah. They're recruiting based on their perceived usefulness, not because they see them as valuable people. As
Yeah.
in inherently people who have value, they are valuable people for the cause.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think as long as the other organization or group believes in the cause that they are joining the like people that are different from them for, then I think it would be considered a coalition. Like if they manipulated or tricked those people or beasts or beings or whatever into fighting on their side, then maybe that wouldn't be a coalition. I feel like it has to have like consent and knowledge on both sides.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I
Nice.
think a great comparison about perceived value is when all the TikTokers bought all the seats at Trump's rally. Like nobody was expecting that. I definitely didn't see that coming.
Nope.
And it was a really nice surprise. It was like a group that you never considered. You know, it's like people don't think to care about, like most people just discount children in that way, or especially teenagers in that way. And they came up with a really great way to signify that it was them as well as signify that they were coming together for a cause.
Yeah. Adri, what about you? What are your
So for me, I have the moment that I chose was that moment where Dobby's knowledge of the room of requirement allows Harry and Dumbledore's army to literally get the tools they need to resist the Ministry's wishes. Harry thinks, I need a whistle. A whistle appears. Like there's a ton of books about defense against the dark arts. Like they found the perfect place that would be undetected. And it was equipped with the tools that they needed, if and only because they trusted Dobby's knowledge. So like when I talk about the politics of knowledge as resistance, it's not necessarily like academic knowledge. It could come from anywhere. And who is more underappreciated than a house elf in this series?
I will say though that Hermione did not trust Dobby's knowledge because she specifically is skeptical
Yes,
about it until
yes. Until
Harry.
Harry was like, "Oh, Dumbledore knows about it."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Ron and Harry might trust Dobby's knowledge, but not Herm.
Oh, well, I meant, like the moment. What I meant to underscore about that moment is not that that everyone trusted Dobby. It was more that knowledge could come from anywhere, and that in the wizarding world, house elves are the most overlooked of these magical creatures who have frequent contact with wizards and witches
Yeah.
because they're seen as servants, and they're the ones who could have knowledge that can help wizards.
Yeah, the
Mm.
wizards just have to choose to listen to them.
Exactly.
Yeah, and we see that throughout the book where knowledge that house elves possess can both help and harm, as well as going back to my original point. I thought it was really weird that Hermione was so distrustful of Dobby's wisdom when she spends like an entire book trying to
No,
free.
that's true.
So I have thoughts on this, Alex. And I think we might have spoken about this a little before, but I don't think Hermione sees house elves as
Oh yeah.
as beings that they are. I think she sees she has like a savior, like a white savior complex type thing of like a
Oh
colonizer
yeah, I mean,
savior. And she thinks that
yeah.
she knows better, she knows best. She knows what to do. She doesn't listen to them, and she just wants to do things for them when maybe that's not what they need.
Well, yeah, and isn't her whole premise like they're not smart enough to want, or they don't know that they want to be free. I have to tell them that they want to be free, so why would she trust their
Correct.
intelligence for anything else? And also, I want to point out that it's interesting that wizards also have somewhat of a control over the knowledge that house elves are physically able to share with other wizards as well.
Correct. But they
Mhm.
also have a different kind of magic, as Dobby has shown us,
Mhm.
that goes kind of a little bit beyond the bounds of that control. Now, the way that house elves get spoken about by wizards is eerily similar to the way that colonizers spoke about natives and slaves and African slaves. So,
I
like
was just about to try to make that point.
the way that they talk about like inferior racists and how they're docile and they just want to serve, that is legitimately how colonizers spoke about both Native Americans or natives from the lands that they colonized and about slaves. In fact, in 1898, even though there were no legal slaves, in 1898, when the United States invaded and colonized Puerto Rico, they talked about Puerto Ricans as being people who were willing to embrace, so that by they I mean the United States officials, willing to embrace the protection of the benevolent United States now that they no longer have the protection of Spain, which is not what happened.
I mean, it's the same concept as, and we see this is it's how Dobby and Creature and Winky are all foils of each other, and they're all honestly white gazes of slavery. You have the slave that is who fights and runs away and is eventually freed from his master and makes his own way and still, and tries to help the resistance. You have the slave who is traumatized at the fact of being freed and literally falls into drugs and despair,
Mhm.
trying to get back into basically what is enslavement. And then you have the bitter slave who is still serving his masters, but as his masters progress, he becomes more and more bitter to the point where he's sabotaging his master's life. And those were all white gazes of slavery in America, that by the time the Emancipation Proclamation was even read out to all of the slaves in the states, there were enslaved people who did not want to leave, who literally did not know what to do.
I mean, it's just unfortunate, right? Because we spent generations not supporting people who were enslaved. And this included, natives and Africans. And then we blame, as a society, those same populations for the generational trauma they carry. So, I mean, it's Hermione all over with spew all over again with with the saviorism and putting yourself as in the center of that story rather than giving agency to people that you're supposedly trying to save because you quote know better, unquote.
I do we believe that Hermione like meant it that way? Like, do we think that she probably thought she was actually doing a good thing?
Right.
Well, everyone thinks they're doing a good thing, I guess.
Well, yeah, I just don't. I mean, like Hermione's a very beloved character, and a lot of people might find it difficult to think about her as, you know,
So the flip side is that this is what happens when you allow a character to constantly be mainstreamed as white. Fight me on it. Yes, all of these characters are the creation of the imagination of a absolutely delusioned quote unquote white feminist. So yes, it is very easy to see all of her characters and their actions from that gaze because that is how they were written. However, because I am not a white feminist, I can very easily see Hermione as black for a variety of reasons. And you can check out various articles that I've written on the subject. When Hermione is black, as she is in my head, I see her directly correlating house elf enslavement with the mistreatment that muggles and muggle-borns receive. And because she can't do anything about that yet, she tries to take charge over house elf enslavement, almost as if because there are basically two frames of each other. Both have magical ability, both are constantly discarded as unworthy of the gifts and the intellect that they possess, and yet they are constantly seen as a source to be manipulated and used for basically white supremacy. or pure blood supremacy if we want to keep it cute. If Hermione, as a black woman, said, I can do something about this and I'm going to try to convince other white people around me that this shit is important, she couldn't come out and say, oh, yeah, I'm leading a house elf rebellion. You know, like, especially at 13 years old, most 13-year-olds don't know how. I mean, I'm impressed that this generation knows how. I definitely didn't. But now we have 15, 16-year-old Hermione who's like, oh, I see how these systems succeed and I've seen how they failed. And I've gotten smarter because of it. And now I've got bigger fish to fry.
Well, she's still leaving like items of clothing to trap the house elves into freedom. And they get all pissy about it because she has like done this without their consent.
Hermione's methods are never always like never,
No,
the
well,
best.
so whether Hermione is a black woman or not, the idea of like saviorism and putting yourself as like the savior in the story of an oppressed group, whether you are part of an oppressed group yourself, she's like in the wizarding world pecking order, she still has more power or more perceived power than house elves, right? So the idea is that I was trying to say, like the white savior of it all is that idea of someone who holds more power than the oppressed group trying to tell the oppressed group what's best for them instead of having a conversation with them to hear them out.
But while
Yeah.
it's very easy to assign that as colonialism, it it could also be the sign of any growing organizer. You know what I'm saying? I like to think that everybody likes to believe like we all have just this perfect activist, the person that knew what to say to every group, the person that never tried to impose themselves on the conversation, the person that knew how to lead from the back all every single time. I don't think that Hermione being any other color besides white would affect that. I mean, I do. Like, I believe that it would, but I also believe that her not being white gives it a totally different connotation than her just being a little girl with a white savior complex. I feel like that is the easy route to take. And I know that all of us are very capable of critical analysis, so I'm just asking us to think about it, to put a little bit of more pressure on ourselves to think about it from a different side of the story.
No, what I'm trying to say about colonialism, Calix, is that colonialism does not stop at just white people. Like we've got missionaries being sent all over the world telling people how they should be living their lives, and like that's colonialism light. And those missionaries can be any color and they can be sent to any number of communities to build a school while evangelizing, when really maybe what the town really needs is a better way to get potable drinking water, because it doesn't matter if they have a school or not if they can't even drink water safely. But they won't listen to people in the community because they want to build a school, and that's what they put their mind to it, and they didn't listen to the community they're invading with all these good intentions. I'm not debating that there's no good intentions. I'm not debating that Hermione couldn't be a growing organizer. What I am asking us to do is to think about the ways in which Hermione may be harming the movement that she so wants to make happen in the series, because she to up to this point in the series has not really listened to house elves' concerns and hasn't tried to have a dialogue with them because she recognizes them as other than herself. It would be like if I don't know, went to a Native American reservation and try to tell them how to live their life, even though I'm from an oppressed community. I am not part of their community, and I shouldn't be telling them how to live their life if I haven't even listened to them and can't like help them to do anything.
No, I agree with that, but I think the difference between, and this I could be very wrong, I think the difference between being misguided and being malicious is intention.
I understand what you're trying to say with intention, but then are we saying that people with quote unquote good intent are not responsible for the actions?
That's not what I said at all.
But like, I believe that the United States of America in 1898 thought, not only thought that we're doing Puerto Rico a favor, but also thought, like this is a good territory to have, right? Whatever. Because they believed Puerto Ricans were dumb, docile people who were beneath them. So they colonized us and, took us away from Spain, and they imposed a new language, a new school system, and a bunch of other things. So, if the intent of those people was to be supposed saviors, like just like the Spaniards were, like when they, sent over priests to evangelize and colonize, does that what does that mean then? I mean, all I'm saying is that I have seen what good intentions has done to my community.
Oh, and as have I, like over 400 years of it. 1898 was way after 1619. Like, it's not,
Puerto Rico was colonized in the 1500s.
but it's not. I also don't want to get into the struggle Olympics. Like, that's
No,
not
I'm not. What I'm
going
trying
to
to
do.
say is that, so you're saying that she was not malicious. I'm telling you that that's the story that has been fed to us too, that our colonizers were not malicious people.
Oh, but I think we can also examine actions and see differences. Yes, she should not have been laying down clothes against their consent. Yes, to a house elf, that might be seen as malicious. True. But I also can see it from, especially from the eyes of a child, because we're also three grown women judging the actions of a 13-year-old
15-year-old by now.
and still a kid.
A few weeks ago, you were making the point that Hermione should have known better, and
because
you struck.
Umbridge was because Umbridge was physically abusing her
Okay,
friend.
correct. And I said she is just a kid. Can we cut her some slack because she's just still learning about consequences of reporting? And you pushed back on me on that. So now you want to play the
So
other
so
side.
now so now you're equating colonization, or as you say, colonization, with seeing physical abuse and not reporting it.
No, what I am saying is that now you want to play the other side and say, well, she's just a kid. How could she have known that she, was doing harm? And I'm just like, I don't understand.
Because I see them as two different levels of action.
So is it two different levels of action because Hermione does not recognize house elves as equal to wizards?
No, no, because I see it as her trying to do something as a community organizer or activist for somebody she thinks is in pain versus somebody she knows is in pain. What you think is not the same thing as what you know.
Okay, Alex, let's step back for a second. What are a good community organizer? What do they do?
Maybe that's a question we need to ask our listeners.
Because to me, a good community organizer listens to the community they're trying to help before taking any action.
Okay. And then we can admit that Hermione was not a bad, she was a bad community organizer. And then she got better.
I think Hermione is trying the hardest she can with the tools that she has
Her-
right
and
now.
and I am not debating that. What I'm saying is at this point, she's not there yet. And until she learns to listen to the community, she's, to me, using the tools of colonization. And you UK Alex may disagree with my choice of words because maybe they're incendiary.
So, how would you teach a child how not to be a colonizer?
I would teach a child to listen to everyone, no matter where they come from.
And I don't think that this is her fault either, because I feel
The wizarding world is already built.
she learns how to deal with these things from the people that are around her
Mm-hmm.
authority figures, her, I don't know about her family or anything like that, but this is obviously like learned behavior. I don't think that someone just wakes up one day and is all of a sudden in the mindset of a colonizer without having been exposed to that once in their life.
And that's why I think it's so different because her parents aren't wizards.
But at this point, well, at this point, she is most of the time since age 11 exposed to, the Weasleys and Hogwarts at that, most months of the year. And she's learning.
Yeah, and she's horrified at the fact that there's a category of people that are basically enslaved. I think any child who's not a fascist would be horrified by that.
Correct. But in that horror, there are still some lessons that the wizarding world has taught her that maybe she doesn't quite see that she has been replicating, which is what we call bias. Because to not listen to house elves, or, as Helene said earlier in the episode, maybe she doesn't see their knowledge as something that she should accept because it doesn't come from a book, perhaps, or it doesn't come from Dumbledore, which is the authority on all authorities, then she is replicating the behavior of the wizarding world that discounts any creature that is not wizards or witches as having inferior magical knowledge than themselves.
I think the important thing we need to just remember here is just that while her methods and the way she goes about things may be problematic, and she probably isn't even aware of that herself, I think that we need to just remember that she has good intentions, and maybe that's not the right way to say it, but she's doing this because she cares about a group of disenfranchised, not people because they're house elves, but a marginalized group, and she wants to help them, and she might not be helping them in the best way possible, and she might not be going about it the right way, but she wants to do good. I think that's just what we need to remember.
Yeah, I mean, she wants to do good, and I have used her as an example of, you know, a great idea for a grassroots organization and movement that wasn't successful for a variety of reasons. One being that she did not, use the tenets of grassroots organizing, which is listen and empower the people who are oppressed. Listen to and empower the people who are oppressed to lead their own movement.
I mean, and
Um,
I don't think we should be extremely
but
surprised about her methods either, because
mhm,
she's just the type of person that she always just thinks that she knows that what's the best for it. She knows what's best for everybody in her life. She thinks she knows what's best for Harry. She thinks she knows what's best for Ron. I mean, that's just who she is. She always thinks that she knows best, and sometimes she's right and sometimes she's wrong. But in this case, it's just another example of she thinks she knows what's best, and she's just doing what she thinks is
I mean, the
what's
DA was her
necessary.
idea. The
Yeah.
DA was her idea. And she lets Harry, be the de facto leader because she understands that he has the clout and the abilities to make that happen.
But I think that we should move on.
Yep. K. Alex, who was the character that expressed your politic?
I had already talked about it, but
I think you're the only one that hasn't touched on
Okay.
character or.
All right. Well, for me, Umbridge wishes to silence. We can see that through Harry's interactions with Cho, plus the echo of the punishment being visible on his hand still, and that's in that moment where he's talking to Dobby. Really spoke about the punishment and the silencing. And at Hogwarts specifically, this book is all about the tension between silence as a means of oppression. After all, Umbridge doesn't even allow students to access practical knowledge in defense against the dark arts, and them moving to seek knowledge as resistance to Umbridge and the Ministry of Magic.
Nice.
Dementors and chocolate. My Dementor is Cho's friend being dragged into something she doesn't want to do. We've all been there.
It's like the one time I can kind of feel bad for Marietta. Mine is kind of touchy based on what we've talked about this episode, but finding out that Hermione's knitting is actually doing more harm than good, in the fact that it's causing all the other house elves to boycott the Gryffindor common room, and in turn making Dobby's life harder by making him have to do all the work by himself because no one else will go into that common room anymore. And I wonder if Hermione knew that, if she would change what she was doing.
mine was Zachariah Smith, the skeptic doubting that Harry had the chops or the experience to teach the group.
My chocolate was the old couple bickering of Hermione and Ron, which probably Helene will roast me for.
Yeah, I don't see it. I never see their bickering as old couple bickering. I see it as people who legitimately don't get along. um, and probably
Second,
shouldn't be dating ever. But that's just me. My chocolate is Ginny because I always love having an excuse to use Ginny as my chocolate. But I love the fact that she comes up with the name for Dumbledore's army. It's just yet another reason that I think she's so underrated. People always forget that she is the one that thought of Dumbledore's army as a name.
Such a good and catchy name.
Yes.
And mine is Fred and George pranking Zachariah Smith.
Man, he showed up in both your Dementor and your chocolate this week.
I was going to say, they're very connected.
It was an excellent use of petty.
Well, last week we posed the following question. How could having a Slytherin member have affected the dynamic of Dumbledore's army?
We got so many wonderful answers and we've condensed them for time. So here we go. I'm Katie and my pronouns are they, them. Before I go into response to this week's question, I wanted to gush about you all a bit. I love the podcast. I actually ended up binging it between November and December, and as soon as I found out about the Patreon, I knew I had to donate. Oh, that's so sweet. I love the tackling of the politics and the analysis that you all provide. You all break the topics down incredibly well, and the critical analysis of politics within the HP universe is very much needed and very appreciated.
Aww.
One of the issues that I have with the series is that there's this underlying message that communities can band together to cause positive change, but there's little evidence in the text itself actually showing an inner house community. Throughout the various books, we see how houses form factions within themselves. In terms of Slytherins themselves, the majority that we see throughout the series are explicitly antagonistic, with Rowling implicitly assigning the idea that ambition, resourcefulness, and all of the other traits connected to the house as bad traits. Including Slytherins in Dumbledore's army would have helped support the message that she tries to convey of a greater community spanning within Hogwarts itself, as well as show ambition and resourcefulness as good qualities. Amen to that. It would have been interesting to see a foil between a Slytherin who believes in Harry juxtaposed against someone, let's say, Hufflepuff, who thinks Harry's lying, like Zachariah Smith. It would have It also would help to set up the plot a little better for Slytherins who fought for Hogwarts in the battle and show division within the houses themselves. Slytherins could definitely have helped the rest of the DA be more secretive and sly. They could have been good informants for the DA on what the Inquisitorial Squad were doing. Excellent point. Or what Death Eaters were planning if one of their families was one. Absolutely. The story could include a Slytherin or two who didn't have any Death Eater connection. They're just ambitious and cunning. Slytherins and the DA could be the double agents without ever thinking of becoming a Death Eater or defecting to the dark side. Oh yeah, like what everybody imagines Snape to be. I hope everything in your lives goes as well and as smoothly as it can. And thanks again for both the education and entertainment you provide. Oh,
Oh,
thank you, Katie.
oh,
That was a beautiful
I
letter.
love Katie. That's awesome.
Agreed.
We got some other responses as well on social media. I'm going to go through and read a couple of them, shout you guys out. At Kajal130515 on Instagram said, maybe that could lead to the Death Eaters as well as Voldemort knowing everything. Reich23 on Instagram, I think that's how you would say it, said a more tactical mind and power is what a Slytherin could bring to the DA. Decatur underscore wine underscore poet on Instagram said that a more ruthless streak that would allow the DA to take offensive action instead of just reacting. I like that. And also healthy skepticism that might have kept Harry out of the trap set for him at the Ministry. Oh, yeah. That, like, maybe Sirius might not have died if there was a Slytherin in the DA. Have we thought of that? I like that.
Inclusion.
Mm.
It saves lives.
And then we got a couple more from Twitter. We have at Caitlin with a K, and she said, better stealth, perhaps. Maybe they wouldn't have gotten caught. True, as Ario mentioned in the last episode. And then at Delaria underscore '07 said, for once, Slytherins wouldn't be seen as the enemy just because their parents' alliances. Also, they probably wouldn't have been found out for the whole year.
Excellent points.
Seriously amazing answers this week. Thank you guys so much for giving your responses. We love reading them. This week's question is, what do you think makes a good community organizer?
Ooh, I'm looking forward to all those responses. Now, Helene, tell us, what media have you been consuming?
Oh, goodness. I binged part 4 of Chilling Adventures of Sabrina over the weekend, and it was the final season. And I loved it, just like I love all the seasons of that show. Some are stronger than others. This season touched on the 8 Eldritch Terrors, which I didn't know much about at all before seeing the show. So it was really interesting, and I learned a lot, I feel like, and very fun to see. But I am really sad that the show is over because I really enjoyed that show.
Yeah, I'm not done yet. I've been surrounded with work, but I want to shout out the incredible fiction and poetry I've been reading for the Black Girls Create Anthology. Everybody who has submitted with our partnership with Wizards in Space, y'all are amazing, and I can't wait to see the final product.
I was going to shout out Bridgerton this week, but Helene swept in and stole my thunder last episode because I wasn't there. So I
Very
can't
good.
do that anymore. It's very steamy.
No spoilers, I'm not done.
Well, my friend Rex started his 4th rewatch of the series today.
God bless Rex.
And
God
it
bless.
came out like 2 weeks ago, and he's already watching it for the 4th time. I can't. I cannot.
He should do a Bridgerton podcast, is what he should do.
Honestly, he probably could.
I think there are like portions of it that like I fall absolutely in love with, and then there are portions of it that I fall absolutely out of love with.
Like what?
Like Daphne's not my favorite character. I definitely align myself more as an Eloise
Relatable.
or even like a Penelope Featherington. Like the balance between the two, like somebody who does want to like marry for love and like have a nice life, but also wants to have like a career and pursuits and, you know, have it all, I guess. But like the episodes that don't include Lady Whistledown, I'm just like, "Uh, dang, okay. Guess we gotta, push through. And it's not a push through kind of thing, but like Julie Andrews' voiceover is what's holding the show together, really. That's
I've heard that take a lot recently, and I can't say I disagree.
Just wait till you find out who Lady Whistledown is. I
I
cannot wait.
know, and
I cannot wait to hear your reaction.
I'm trying to be like Eloise. I've got a list, and I'm trying to narrow it down.
So, okay, Alex, I'm just going to need you to text us the second you find out.
Okay.
Because I'm sure this will be a reaction.
Okay. Because I admit, like, I was on Eloise's path of thinking, I was like, oh, it's probably a servant who has been everywhere.
Yeah, that was my first thought too.
Well, the funny thing is that, I mean, I read the series, right? Like the 8 books. And in the series, you don't find out until like book 4.
I kind of wish it was like that. I'm kind of like not happy that they told us at the end of the season.
So you wish they had done like a Gossip Girl, you know?
Yes, I like the mystery of it.
But I honestly think though, there's not, and maybe because I do want to go back and read it, I don't think that there's enough intrigue holding the cinematic version of it together without the general viewer wondering who Lady Whistledown is. You know what I'm saying? Because now that you find out, it's like, okay, we found out, but did everybody else find out?
So in the book series,
because then it's like an audience thing, you know?
Yeah, in the book series, it's a little less about Whistledown. I mean, obviously, all the like all the scenes that are in the series that talk about Whistledown are basically beat by beat in the books. But the books themselves are more centered, obviously, on the romance, and they are tied together by this entity who is Whistledown until like book 4 when you find out who she is. So
is it? Wait, you said tied down. Is it Lady Danbury?
I guess you'll have to finish watching on Netflix tonight.
Oh my God, you can't punish me like that.
I feel like an evil villain.
Let's go back to arguing. That was more comfortable.
You know that you and I can argue. That doesn't mean anything that I don't love you.
I know. I love you too.
But honestly, I mean, the Netflix series does change enough from the books to the point where reading the series will not dampen your enjoyment of the Netflix series once they come out. So for people who are worried about, spoilers or like, oh, this is going to ruin my enjoyment of the series, it will not.
Okay, so one question about the book. Can I still imagine Homeboy as Duke of Hastings?
Listen, there is no other Duke for me now.
Oh my God.
Or is he like pasty? And I'm like, oh, this is just.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I don't care what the book says. There is no other Duke. He is canonically my Duke.
Period.
He's so beautiful. Regé-Jean Page is amazing. And fun fact, he was in Deathly Hallows Part 1.
What?
Yes, he was an extra at Florin Bell's wedding. There's a shot where you see him standing next to Hermione at the wedding.
Now I gotta go back and watch that too.
Yeah.
God bless.
God bless your grace.
Well, now that we've thoroughly covered Bridgerton, let me share what I have been watching this week. I watched episodes 1 and 2 of 30 Coins, or Treinta Monedas, a supernatural horror TV series from Spain that is available on HBO Max, based on Judas's payment for selling Jesus to the Romans. It is definitely not for the faint of heart. It has a lot of blood and stuff. in it, but also very interesting, and it has all my favorite Spanish actors,
So
including one beautiful eye candy.
so now you have something in common with my dad because I strolled into his house last night and he was watching this and he was he was absolutely enthralled. He was like he's like for a horror movie, the special effects are very lackluster, but for the storyline, he was hooked.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is like, imagine if the Da Vinci Code were any good and also more supernatural.
Oh my god, yes, and that is exactly his jam. Like I remember sitting with him watching the Da Vinci Code and us being like, "This is bad," but
Okay, Alex, did you get to see the mayor of the town?
no, but I'm gonna go watch so I can see because you know
Also,
I'm
my new, because I love renaming shows. My new name for this show is Action Priest.
not action priest.
Honestly, if there was a American version of this, Bruce Willis would be cast as the priest. I guarantee
Oh
you.
my god. So I did see the priest, and he kind of gave me more of a Constantine vibe.
Okay, okay, I see that. I see that. I just saw him
Um,
and I thought Bruce Willis.
but tying back to Helene, I was telling my dad, well, the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina involves Judas's coins as the part of the unholy regalia.
Hmm.
And I was like, that's a spin on it too. It's like, oh, the devil took interest in these coins and scattered them everywhere.
Oh, the
It would like a hellacious artifact. The money that Judas was paid to betray Jesus. Well, I mean, they say you can't take money to heaven or hell with you, but
I mean, spoiler alert to listeners. Some of these coins are passed through exorcism through the skin of people receiving an exorcism. So,
I did see that. I saw that part.
listen, as a former Catholic, I am really into this. It pushes all my buttons, like it has like sprinkle of Catholicism, but also like my favorite Spanish actors and like shirtless man, you know. Honestly, it's shirtless man for me, but we all know I'm a horn dog, apparently.
Hits all the high notes. That's funny.
So my new favorite show is Action Priest on HBO Max, also known as 30
I
Coins.
just I just love how you come up with different names for shows. I love it.
Right. Folks gonna be go looking at the stream.
You'd be like,
Find action
I typed
priest.
Action Priest in the search bar and nothing came up.
Oh my gosh, he looks the exact same. Why'd you send me this picture now? This is a distraction.
Because it had to do with what we were talking about.
So listeners, Helene texted us a picture of Deathly Hollows showing that scene where the Duke, Simon, is next to Hermione.
Yes. He's still very beautiful. You can tell he's much younger, obviously.
Yeah, you can definitely tell he's much younger, but that don't make no difference. Anyway.
If anything, he's more beautiful now.
He is. I would say he is.
Absolutely. Well, that's enough of our thirsting, folks. That's it for today's episode. Join us next week to talk about chapter 19 of Order of the Phoenix, the Lion and the Serpent. The chapter I accidentally read for today.
But you already figured out your politics, so you're fine.
Yeah. We'll see if I remember.
You didn't write it down? Always write it down, Calix.
You know, here's the hoping. We'll see. Find out next time.
Yeah, suspense.
Ugh. And while that suspense is building, you can find us online everywhere at Occupolitics and at occupolitics.com. You can support our podcast by becoming a patron for as little as $2 a month for exclusive bonus content. You can upgrade and get one sticker per month mailed every 3 months for $5 a month, and a sticker and a Wizarding World inspired recipe card for $10 a month at patreon.com/occupolitics.
Yes, please leave us a voicemail at 915-996-1699 with all of your burning thoughts and questions, because we know you have them. And if you're feeling shy, you can email us at info@aciopolitics.com. I also want to add, if you enjoyed our discussion today, please take a second and leave us a review on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. We would love to see your reviews as well.
Ooh, yeah. Until then, politics managed. Keep safe and keep faith. Good night.
Helene, I want to know if you're dancing to it.
I'm too tired, man.
Oh, so I'm the only one dancing to it? Damn. Okay, Alex, are you dancing to it?
The girl with energy in my head was.
Oh my goodness.
I was not.
Exciting.
Ooh, that's exciting. Sorry.
It's exciting.
I got too excited because I was like, and now this is the place where we thank our lovely patrons. Woo.
Wait, no horn?
It is a form of oppression, aka umbrage.
You almost an echo.
I know. I'm like the worst.
Sorry.
At least I didn't say Dumbledore this time.
I know, but you said echo.
I thought she was about to say Accio Umbridge. Helene, what if she had said Accio Umbridge and Mitch McConnell showed up at her door?
Oh my gosh, I would die. Well, she would be able to say to his face, "Hi, minority leaders, Mitch McConnell."
I would hope that she would have a few more choice words for him at this point.